Bonjour and good morning. Welcome to WASA Distance Education and PLAR English. And this is our this is the second week of classes, not the first week of classes in Term 1A. And so 2 classes per week. So last week we only had 1 class because of the holiday, the long weekend. And so starting this week, we'll have 2 classes per week, Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 till 12. Same as our opposite, the PLAR History Geography. To participate, there are 2 ways to participate. You can call in to our studio, or you can participate on Zoom. So whichever one you choose. If you call into the radio station, then you have audio only. If you participate on Zoom, then you have audio and video. So the instructions for joining a Zoom class are in your study guide, and the information for joining class is also there. All PLAR English students are welcome to attend classes, so you don't have to be signed up for radio Zoom classes. Even if you signed up for PLAR through IL, you can still join the radio Zoom classes. To contact me, you can use email, phone, or send a message on Facebook. Most students do send a message on Facebook, and Facebook you can use for submitting work, asking questions, getting any kind of information that you need. So Facebook is a really good way to keep in contact. Students working on the PLAR from last year can keep working on the key questions and to continue to submit them to your teacher. Excuse me. So if you started the PLAR last year and you've been working on it, you've got a couple of lessons done or whatever, continue working on that and continue to submit. Just make sure that you do sign up for the new school year. You have to be registered with us to continue working. So check and make sure, check with your DEC or contact us at WASA to make sure that you are signed up. And the PLAR classes from last year are available on YouTube and will be updated as we record new classes. So the PLAR English from last year, if you go to my YouTube, you will find all of the classes there. So if you're working ahead of where we are working in class, you can go and watch those classes on YouTube. Okay, so new this year. For this year, we've decided that all PLAR students can write the culminating activity before doing the lessons and the key questions. So even if you were signed up previously and you've already completed some of the work and submitted it, if you want to try the culminating activity, you can do that. And then if you pass the culminating activity, you don't have to do the lessons and key questions. You can just move on to the next subject and you can try the culminating activity for that subject as well. If you're not successful with the culminating activity, then you will have to go through the lessons and complete the key questions. So you're not finished with it. So if you do the culminating activity, and you pass it, then you can move on to your next subject, do the culminating activity, and continue on that route. If you try a culminating activity and you don't pass it, then you have to do the lessons, complete the key questions, submit them, and then you get to write another culminating activity after the work is all finished. So you get a couple of different chances to get your credits. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That is an option for you if you want to go that route. Also, another announcement for this week only, there has been a class change. So instead of having our classes on Mondays and Wednesdays this week, our second class will be on Tuesday, so tomorrow at 1 o'clock, because I will be away from the office on Wednesday, traveling to Wapakika. Okay, so I won't be in the office on Wednesday at all, so that's why I want to do my second class tomorrow at 1 o'clock instead of later in the week. So just keep that in mind. Okay, our schedule for this year. Our class schedule you've probably seen already, so not a whole lot of courses available on Zoom this year, but we do have more classes that are available through IL. So this is just a shortened schedule for the radio Zoom classes only. The other courses are still all available through IL. Okay, just a reminder about the support questions and the key questions. If you are doing the lessons, you have to do both types of questions, the support questions and the key questions. The support questions are there for you to get practice before you attempt the key questions. Okay, so the support questions, are the practice questions that help you get ready for the key questions. The answers to the support questions are near the end of the lesson, right before the key questions. So you can do the support questions and then go check your answers near the end of the lesson to see if you're understanding what you're doing. If you're doing well with the support questions, then you go ahead and you work on the key questions. So the key questions are the questions that have marks, and those are the questions that you submit to me for marking. Okay, the only questions. And then once you start working on the key questions, submit them right away. So as soon as you finish your key questions, send them out to me right away for marking so that I can give you feedback right away on how you're doing. To submit your work, there are several different ways. The first way is to give it to your DEC. Your DEC will send it to us here in Sioux Lookout. If you don't have a DEC, you don't have a learning center in your community, or your DEC is away, you can submit your own work. One way of doing that, if you have access to a scanner, is you can scan and email your own work to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and make sure you CC it to me. Or you can fax it to our toll-free fax number if you have access to a fax machine. Okay, if you do not have access to a fax machine or a scanner, then you can use your smartphone. Okay, just about everyone has a smartphone nowadays. So with your smartphone, you can either take photos of your work, or using your smartphone, you can scan your work, and then you can either email it to the same address, studentwork@nnec.on.ca, and of course CC it to me, or you can send it by Facebook Messenger. Okay, just take pictures or scan it, like I said, and send it on Facebook Messenger. Okay, or you can email it. If you're emailing it, make sure you use the correct email so that we do receive it. And that's the reason for sending it to the student work email and also CCing it to me, so that we make sure that somebody gets your work. Okay, another way of submitting your work is to use our outdoor mailbox. So if you are in Sioux Lookout or the surrounding area and you're coming to Sioux Lookout, you can drop your work off at WASA. You can either use the mailbox that's attached to the outside of the building in the parking lot, or you can knock on the door and leave it at reception here in Sioux Lookout. You can also use Google Classroom to complete and submit your work. If you use Google Classroom, if you want to use Google Classroom, please contact me so that I can email you the link and the class codes. You can also, I don't have it here for some reason, but you can also use Google Docs to submit your work. So do your work and then send me a link for Google Docs, and I can get your work that way as well. So there are a lot of different ways to submit your work to us. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start off our class with a review of what we covered in class last week on Wednesday. And so in lesson 1, we are first of all talking about the different parts of speech. I'm missing a page here for some strange reason. Oh, there it is. So in lesson 1, our first topic is the parts of speech, and last week on Wednesday we talked about nouns and pronouns. So today we're going to move on to another part of speech and we're going to start talking about verbs. But first of all, we're going to review what we talked about last week. So as I mentioned, last week we started talking about the parts of speech with nouns and pronouns. So there are 8 different parts of speech in the English language, and so every word that we use falls into one of those 8 categories, is one of those 8 parts of speech. And understanding the 8 parts of speech and how to use them helps us become better communicators. Okay, so as I said, the first part of speech that we looked at were nouns. And nouns are, generally we think of them as naming words. So if you look at something and you can put a name on it, dog, cat, house, table, sky, ground, whatever, it is a noun. It's a name of something. So the name of a person, place, or thing or idea, those words are nouns. So some examples: Daniel, London, table, hope. In a sentence, Mary is a noun, uses a blue pen for her notes. So Mary, pen, and notes are all things that we give a name to. All things that we can see and we can touch. So if you're wondering if a word is a noun, ask yourself if you can see it and if you can touch it. Now, some nouns, of course, we can't see and touch. Words like hope, anger, fear, bravery, those types of words are nouns because we give them a name, but we can't see them or touch them really. Okay, so those are nouns. Then we looked at pronouns. Pronouns are words that we use in place of nouns. So generally we use them so that we avoid repeating the same words over and over, the same nouns over and over. So some examples of pronouns. Most of them are small words, but some of them can be a bit longer. So examples include I, you, it, we, us, them, and those. So in a sentence, I want her to dance with me. So instead of saying names, we use I, her, and me. Okay, so that's what pronouns do. They replace nouns. Okay, so that's what we've looked at so far. So just some things about nouns and pronouns. So noun-pronoun agreement. So a noun and a pronoun must agree in number and gender. So the purpose of a pronoun is to take the place or refer back to a noun in a sentence. Just like subjects and verbs, nouns and pronouns should agree in number within a sentence. So singular noun, if you use singular noun, then you have to use a singular pronoun to replace it. So when writing a sentence using the same word more than once can get repetitive. So you don't want to keep saying the same word over and over. So for example, Francine edited her paper because her paper was full of errors. So rather than repeating her paper twice, we can use a pronoun instead. So Francine edited her paper because it was full of errors. We know it is referring back to her paper. So instead of repeating her paper again, we can use the pronoun it. And since her paper is one paper, then we use the singular pronoun it to replace it. We wouldn't use, for example, they, because they is plural. So we use it. Remember to find the true subject of the sentence to determine if the pronoun should be singular or plural. Okay, so we'll talk about singular and plural pronouns a little bit later on. We'll talk about subject and verb later on. So for example, each student must find his or her own note-taking strategy. So his or her, that's singular. Since the subject is singular, the pronoun must also be singular. So each student, is the subject. So that is singular. Each student, we're talking about each individual student. So his or her. Now, it is acceptable now, it didn't used to be, but it is acceptable, instead of saying his or her, to use the plural pronoun they as singular. So we could say each student must find, not they, their, sorry. Okay, because there is plural. But now it's acceptable to use it as a singular form. So each student must find their own note-taking strategy. Another example, neither Bob nor Alex believed he would receive the award. So this is singular because it's neither Bob nor Alex. So it's only neither one of them, so we need to use the singular pronoun. So, yeah. Another example, a community group of teachers is meeting tonight to see if it can find a way to help students improve their SAT scores. So a community group, okay, that's only one group. So it, so we have to use the singular pronoun it to refer back to the community group. So it is a group of teachers, so it's a group of more than one person, but it's only one group. So we have to use the singular pronoun it. Okay, so there's just some things to keep in mind when we're talking about, when we're using pronouns to replace nouns. Okay, so today we're going to move on to verbs. We might get into another couple of parts of speech, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to start talking about verbs. So that starts on the bottom of page 11. So page 11, 12, 13 gets into some tenses of verbs, the past tense, present tense, and future tense. 14 and then 15, and at the bottom of page 15 is support question 6. Okay, and support question 5 I believe is before that too, about verbs. So make sure you do support questions 5 and 6 before you start key question 2. Okay, so let's look at verbs. What are verbs? So we said a noun is a naming word, a pronoun replaces a noun. Verbs are action words. A verb is a word that expresses a physical action, so something physical, something to do with your body. So for example, jump, hop, run, skip, those are all things that we can do. A mental action, guess, wonder, I can't think of anything else right now, think. Okay, those are all things that we do. We guess about things, we think about things, or a state of being. So exist or existence. So the state of being verbs are the tricky ones. The rest of them are usually pretty easy to catch onto. So a physical action, as I mentioned, to swim, to write, to climb, those are all things we do. A mental action, to think, to guess, to consider, all things we do again. A state of being. So to be, to exist, to appear. So this one is usually the trickiest form of the verb. All right? So you have to be careful with that one. So again, think of verbs as doing words. Nouns are naming words, verbs are doing words. So the verb to be, so the state of being verb. So words like was, were, am, are, is, and will be are state of being verbs. So I was bike riding yesterday. I am bike riding today. I will be bike riding tomorrow. Okay, so those are all state of being verbs. So you can think of it again as things to do. You were at my house yesterday. You are at my house today. You will be at my house tomorrow. Okay, so these are, again, these are the forms of the verb to be. So when you see these words in a sentence, was, were, am, are, is, and will be, they are verbs. Okay, so a little bit of practice with finding verbs. Circle the action verb in each sentence. So again, ask which word in these sentences is something that you can do. So number 1, Sal listens to his favorite song. So you ask yourself, what does Sal do? He listens. Okay. Number 2, Craig hits the baseball over the fence. What does Craig do? Hits the baseball. Number 3, the little pig grunts. What does the pig do? Grunts. So again, these are all the things that we can do. We listen, we hit, we grunt, or pigs anyway. People do too. The roof of the house leaks. What does the roof of the house do? It leaks. The hunter searches for a deer. What does the hunter do? Searches. Number 6, Dr. Gold examines his patient. What does Dr. Gold do? Examines. Number 7, the bluebird in the tree sings beautifully. What does the bluebird do? It sings. Number 8, the football team dashes out of the locker room. What does the football team do? It dashes. Number 9, Paul reads The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. What is Paul doing? Or what does he do? He reads. Mrs. Gray buys a roll of paper towels at the store. What does she do? She buys. Number 11, Judy solves the mystery. What does Judy do? She solves the mystery. And number 12, Harold finds a purple crayon. What does Harold do? Finds a purple crayon. Now, all of these verbs that are in these sentences, they are all in the present tense. Oops. Okay, so they're all things that we do now. Listens, hits, grunts, etc. Generally, when a verb is in the present tense, it will end in the letter S. Doesn't mean that it's plural. Doesn't mean it's more than one, like with nouns. It means that it's in the present tense. In the past tense, it will be Sal listened to his favorite song. Craig hit the baseball over the fence. The little pig grunted. The roof of the house leaked. The hunter searched for a deer. Dr. Gold examined his patient. So we would put a different ending on words that have a different tense. So we'll look at that now. So an auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb, which is also called a helping verb, accompanies a main verb to help express tense. So an auxiliary verb goes along with a main verb to help express tense, so past, present, or future, voice, or mood. The most common auxiliary verbs are be, do, and have in their various forms. So, example, Lee has eaten all the pie. So what has Lee done? Eaten. That's the main verb. Has eaten is the auxiliary verb or the helping verb. So it gives us a bit more of idea of when he did it. So Lee has eaten all the pies over a period of time. The table has been prepared. So been is the form of the verb to be. Has is the helping verb. So the table has been prepared. It's already been done. Okay, it's a past form of the verb. If he were to arrive in the next 10 minutes, we would be on schedule. So if he were to do what? Arrive. Were is the helping verb for arrive. It is helps with the tense of the verb. If he were to arrive in the next 10 minutes, we would be on schedule. So be is the main verb, so the verb to be again, and would is the auxiliary verb or the helping verb. So it helps. So auxiliary verbs or helping verbs help express tense, voice, or mood. Okay, some helping verb practice. Number 1, we can eat our energy bars. So what is the helping verb and what is the main verb? So the main verb, what can we do? Eat. Can is the auxiliary verb. Next one, I am looking forward to this trip. Main verb is looking. Auxiliary verb, am. So the main verb is the verb to look, and we make it looking when we use the helping verb am. Martin and his parents were watching dogs play. So the main verb is watching. Were is the helping verb. His parents were choosing a dog from the city animal shelter. So what were they doing? Choosing. Were is the helping verb. Martin would help with the decision. So what would Martin do? Help. He would is the helping verb. Dolphins are also kept in zoo exhibits. So what about dolphins? They are kept. Are is the auxiliary verb. They are kept. So the word also is in between the main verb and the helping verb. That happens sometimes. So you just have to be aware of what main verbs and helping verbs look like. So the word also is not part of the verb. You might see a dolphin if you sail across the sea. So see is the main verb. Might is the auxiliary verb. And we also have another verb here, sail. Okay, next sentence, you will probably never find a dolphin in a freshwater lake. The main verb is find. What do you want to do? Find. The helping verb is will, the auxiliary verb. Mandy and Noah are looking forward to a camping trip with their family. What are they doing? Looking forward to. The helping verb is are. They are taking a big tent that has room for 4 people. What are they doing? Taking. Are is the helping verb. That will be enough room for Mandy, Noah, and their parents. The main verb is be. Will is the helping verb that puts the verb in the future tense. Will there be enough room for their St. Bernard Shaggy? Be is the main verb. Will is the helping verb. Shaggy has never gone on vacation before. Gone is the main verb. Has is the helping verb. Okay, so lots of times when we use verbs, we use helping verbs to, again, for mainly for tense. So is it something that happened in the past, something that happened in the future, or something that's happening right now? So future tense, verbs for future tense, you will always see the word will in there. Okay, I will go, I will see, I will do, I will ask. It means that you're going to do it eventually, sometime in the future, and that's why it's a future tense. Okay, subject-verb agreement. So when we talked about nouns and pronouns, we talked about how a pronoun must agree with its antecedent or with the noun in number and gender. So that means that if it's your subject is, or your noun is singular, is 1, then your pronoun must also be singular or 1. Same thing with subject-verb, there must be agreement. So in a number. So in the first example here, we've got grandma and grandpa. So we've got 2 people. So it's basically a plural. So grandma and grandpa blank dinner tonight together, So do they cook dinner or they cooks dinner? So the plural form is cook. The singular form is cooks. So because it's 2 people, grandma and grandpa, we need grandma and grandpa cook dinner together. Okay, the next one. The dogs blank when the mail carrier comes. So we've got plural again. So grandma and grandpa plural, the verb needs to be plural. So here we've got plural dogs, more than 1, because there's an S on the end. So what do they do? Do they growl? Do we use growl or do we use growls? We use growl. Growl is the plural form. So when you look at this, you think, okay, so plural form usually has S. So when we talk about nouns, to make them plural, we add S or some form, ES or IES or whatever, to make them plural. But when we're talking about verbs, generally, the verb will not have an S when it's in plural form. So cook is plural, growl is plural. Cooks and growls are singular forms. So the brown dog blank when someone comes in. So we've got 1 dog, the brown dog. What does it do? The brown dog growls. Okay, here we have the the singular form, which actually has an S on it. So it can be a little bit confusing if you're thinking, trying to figure out nouns, plural nouns and singular nouns, and now plural verbs and singular verbs. Okay, so be careful with that. And generally, you can, if you read something out loud or you read it to yourself, you can figure it out. Because it doesn't sound right if you say the brown dog growl when someone comes in. Okay, all three computers. So we've got 3 computers. So we need the plural form. All 3 computers blank when you turn them on. What do? They all beep when you turn them on. Okay, that computer blank when you turn it on. So this time we have 1 computer. So if it's plural is beep, then singular is beeps, the singular form of the verb. The basketball blank across the court. The basketball rolls, so singular form of the verb. And 3 tennis balls blank across the court. So this time we've got a plural subject, so we need a singular verb. So 3 tennis balls roll across the court. Okay, so be very careful with that. Okay, verb terminology. So the infinitive form of a verb is when a verb is preceded by the word to. Okay, so when we have a verb and the word to is in front of it, it's considered to be in its infinitive form. So it's most basic form. So it hasn't been changed really. So I have to eat that. So to eat, if you were asked for the verb, you would underline to eat or circle to eat. To go, to walk, to run, to arrive, those are all infinitive forms of the verb because the word to is in front of it. Okay, then we have the past tense form. So it happened already. Verbs that express actions in the past are said to be in the past tense. So something that you did already. So he talked with more claret than clarity. So what did he do? He did this already. He talked. So talked is the past tense of the verb to talk. I ran to the lake. I did it already. Ran is the past tense of the verb to run. So every verb has an infinitive form, and then it can be changed to past, present, or future. They were all there. Were is the past tense of the verb to be. So present tense. Oh, I should mention, so when we're talking about past tense, a lot of verbs, when we put them in the past tense, add the verb ed. So walked, asked, whistled, cleaned. Those all put ed on the end of the verb. So to talk, talked. To walk, walked. To clean, cleaned. So that's one way of creating past tense. Some verbs change their spelling. So for example, to run, the past tense is ran. So it's not runned. Runned is not correct. Instead of saying run, we would say ran in the past tense. The verb to be in the past tense is were, depending on if it's singular or plural. So they were, but she was. Okay. Another verb that people have a lot of trouble with is the verb to see. Okay. To see in the past tense becomes saw. It's not seen. Okay, I seen it yesterday. That is incorrect. It should be I saw it yesterday. Okay, so keep this one in mind. This is a very tricky one, and all the time I see people writing seen. I seen it. No, the correct way is I saw it. Okay. Okay, present tense. Verbs that express actions occurring now are said to be in the present tense. So things that you would do now or do regularly. John jumps out the window. So jumps is the present tense of the verb to jump. Generally, verbs that are in the present tense will have an S on the end of it. Who is ill? So right now, who's ill? That's the present tense of the verb to be. He is the kind of guy who lights up a room just by flicking a switch. Is the present tense of the verb to be, we just saw, and lights up is the present tense of the verb to light up. Okay, so some verbs are compound verbs, so it takes more than one word to make the verb. So lights up, for example. And then we have the future tense of the verbs. Verbs that express actions in the future are said to be in the future tense. So these are usually formed by preceding the verb with the word will, as I mentioned earlier. So verbs in the future tense are things that have not happened yet. They will take place later on. They will happen this afternoon or tomorrow or next week. So I will take the blame. So will take, so we need the helping verb will there in front of it. And take is the verb to take. So I will take the blame. Not right now, but in 10 minutes maybe, or later on. They will surrender. So will is the future tense of the verb to surrender. Give me where to stand and I will move the earth. Okay, so will move is the future tense of the verb to move. So anything that's going to be done in the future, will goes in front of it. So I will sing, I will dance, I will run, I will ride, I will think, I will guess. Those are all future tenses. So if the word will is there with the verb, it's in the future tense. Okay, so a little bit of practice with verb tenses. Past, present, or future. So number 1, Daniel will choose a baseball bat. I just finished talking about that. The word will is there, so that means it's going to be its future. He hasn't done it yet. He is going to do it. Number 2, he steps up to the plate. S on the end, so that's present. He does it right now. So when you're watching a baseball game, you'll hear the commentator say, he steps up to the plate. So he's doing it right now. Okay, the pitcher tossed the ball. What did he do? Tossed the ball. So if you're not sure about the verb, ask what he did. Tossed it, it's got ed on the ending. That's past tense. Excuse me, number 4. Daniel will swing hard. It's got will in front of it. What's he going to do? He will swing. So that is future. Number 5, the ball struck the bat. What did the ball do? It struck the bat. It already did it. That's past tense. Number 6, the ball flies through the air. What does it do? It flies. Ends with an S, so that is present tense. Number 7, it landed over the fence. What did it do? Landed. It's got ed on the end. That tells me it's past tense. It already did that. Number 8, Daniel will run around the bases. What will he do? Whoops. He will run. So that's future. He hasn't done it yet. He's going to do it. Number 9, the crowd screams loudly. S on the end. That's present tense. Number 10, he will slide into home plate. He will slide. It's got a helping verb. That's future. Number 11, Daniel's teammates cheered. Cheered. What did they do? They cheered. ed on the end. That's past. They already did it. And number 12, Daniel smiled proudly. ed on the end. Past tense. Okay, he already did it. Okay. Now, saw or seen. So this is the verb to be. Or sorry, to see, not to be. And this is the one that people have a lot of trouble with. Okay, so the verb to see, saw is past tense. Seen is also past tense, but the word seen needs a helping verb with it. Okay, it's not, you can't have it by itself. You can't say I seen it. So first sentence, I blank many colorful birds at the park yesterday. So you would say I saw many colorful birds at the park yesterday, not I seen. Kara has never blanked the waterfall in the creek. This one is seen. Kara has never seen. It has a helping verb, has, that goes with it. Kara has seen. Well, in this case, has never seen. Okay, so with the verb seen, word seen, like I said, that form of the verb, you need a helping verb. Have you seen my car keys? Because have is the helping verb. Have seen. Peter, Isla, and Abby blank Mrs. McMurray shopping at the store. There's no helping verb in there. So they saw Mrs. McMurray. My dog had blank the squirrel that scurried across the front yard. My dog had seen, not had saw, because the helping verb had is there. Do you think Mr. Henshaw has blanked the video already? Has is the helping verb, has seen. Okay, so be very careful with saw and seen. Seen will always have a helping verb. Had seen, has seen, had seen, had seen, has seen, or have seen. Okay, it's not, you never see seen by itself. Do you think Mr. Henshaw seen the video? That's wrong. It's incorrect. Okay, so be very careful with using saw and seen. Make sure you understand the difference. Okay. All right, so we are almost, well, we got about 7 minutes to go. I don't know if we have enough time to get through adjectives, so we'll leave adjectives for tomorrow. So we'll have a look at your key question. If I can find it. Nope, not that one. Nope. Here we go. Okay, so key question 2, in page 53 of your lesson. Circle the 8 verbs in the following sentences. Okay, so ask yourself, so I is the subject of the sentence. The sentence is about what I did. Okay, so what did I do? I went, and what else did I do? I started the barbecue. So I went outside and started the barbecue. So there are 2 verbs in that sentence because I did 2 things. Okay, the next sentence, subject is we. It's about what we did. So what did we do? Or what do we need to do? What are the verbs there? C, he left the room and went to bed. What did he do? And D, the television is in the living room is always on, but nobody ever seems to watch it. So the subject is the television. What about the television in the living room? Okay, this is a tricky one. The television in the living room is always on, but nobody ever seems to watch it. So you get the infinitive form of the verb there, to watch. Is the verb to be. Okay, so that is a form of the verb to be. Again, as I mentioned, be very careful with that. Okay, number 2, part 2 of key question 2, revise the following sentences so that subject and the verb agree. So remember, if they're singular, the subject is singular, the verb must be singular. So in this sentence, what's the sentence about? It's about my old car. What about my old car? The verb is need. So do we need, should it be, my old car need lots of repairs, or my old car needs lots of repairs? So we need to make that sentence, or that verb, agree with the subject. So my old car needs lots of repairs. Okay, here's number 2. My brothers and sisters seen a play last week. So we've got plural subject. And what did I say about seen? Seen always needs a helping verb. Okay, there's no helping verb there. So we can't use seen. So my brothers and sisters saw a play last week. Or my brothers and sisters had seen. Okay, so you have to make it agree. Okay, then C, neither the cars nor the trucks is running properly. So you got to figure out what's the verb here. D, she don't want to have spaghetti for dinner. And E, I doesn't read the newspaper often. So make the verb agree with the subject. Okay, number 3, identify whether the following underlined verbs are in the past tense, present tense, or future tense. So now we need to look at the verbs. They're bolded, they're underlined, so we're telling you what the verbs are. You need to look at them and decide, are they past? Did they happen already? Present, are they happening now? Or future, will they happen tomorrow or next week? So the car needed repairs. The verb ends in ed, so that's past tense. B, we will go to see a movie tonight. Okay, it's got the helping verb will with it, so it's future tense. And then C, she cooks spaghetti every Saturday. It has an S on the end of the verb, so that's present tense. Okay, so I've done the first 3 for you. You do the last 3. We will go swimming at the pool when it opens. There are 2 verbs there. They're both in the same tense. Actually, no, they're not. They're different tenses, sorry. E, Laura reads and watches the news online. 2 verbs there, same tense, sorry. And F, she left her glasses at the library. Okay, so 1 verb there. So past, future, or present tense of those verbs. Okay, and so tomorrow, remember we have a class tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So tomorrow we're going to move on and we're going to look at the remaining parts of speech, the last ones to have to look at, and then next week we're going to move on to looking at capitalization and punctuation. So again, try to get those key questions done as soon as you can and send them out to me for marking. Go back through the lesson and do the support questions that are in your lesson first, and check your answers at the end of the lesson. And then if you're doing well with the support questions, then you move on to the key questions. And again, send me your key questions as soon as you're finished. If all this work is sounding very easy and very familiar to you, as I mentioned at the beginning of the class, you do have the option of trying the culminating activity first, and then if there's something that you're struggling with in the culminating activity, then you can, and you don't pass, you're not successful with the culminating activity, then you can go and do the lessons, and then try the culminating activity after that. Okay, so that's it for our class today. Good